know who's going to be your next manager. I know. Hello, I am the Irish guy, and right, today I'm going to take a look at every Premier League club, and I'm telling you who your next manager is going to be. And when I react to this video in the future, I'm gonna look like a viral monster genius. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Julian Nagelsmann. People seem to think that Mikel Arteta is skating on thin ice, that the poor bloke is constantly looking over his shoulder, as if he's having a picnic in Peckham. But look, I don't think Arteta is going anywhere anytime soon, so that automatically means we can forget about any managers who look like they're on the verge of a fresh challenge. Look, Julian Nagelsmann has a contract to be Germany manager for the next 3 years. And when he's finished up there, probably after having won a European Championship with Germany, he's only going to be 40. Yes, just 40. He feels like he's been around forever. Look, I like Arteta, but this German super coach suddenly makes the Spaniard look more basic than the plot of bananas in pajamas and their creepy fruit who walk down the stairs. That's it. Honestly, lads, Nagelsmann is future Arsenal. Can't you just smell it? Aston Villa, Julian Lopetegui. Aston Villa fans are probably reacting to this suggestion as if I just told you that your firstborn child is going to look like Shrek with chicken pox. How does a club like Aston Villa possibly upgrade on Unai Emery? It's simple. You don't. This fan base should be utterly terrified about the day that he leaves. Because don't forget, Steve Bruce was only 3 managers ago. It wasn't so long ago you had Stevie G at the wheel. The fact that Emery is Aston Villa in a Champions League quarter-final showdown with PSG, that is absolutely insane. It doesn't actually compute in my brain. Emery is a football mastermind. And I hate to say it, but Villa, your next manager is Julian Lopetegui. Someone who looks like if James Bond melted. This is someone who has succeeded elsewhere, sure, but in Premier League circles, he is more forgettable than anything that happened in Madam Web. My reasoning for this, by the way, isn't just random madness. I know me suggesting Lopetegui might seem ludicrous, as if I'm saying that Mark Goldberg should get a tattoo of Bugs Bunny on his face. No, there is a method to my madness, because the Villa sporting director, Monkey, he loves Lopetegui. He had him at Sevilla, as he became the 4,000th coach to win that club the Europa League. And look at this, in April of last year,
Aston Villa director Monkey explains why Milan should hire Lopetegui.
It gets worse.
Julian has 3 virtues that I find fundamental for any coach: great professional qualities, competitiveness, and ground management.
Oh dear.
Think about Porto, Real Madrid, and the Spanish national team. For this reason, I'm convinced Julian is the ideal candidate to take charge of a club like Milan, one of the biggest in Europe.
Yeah, this man thinks Lopetegui is good enough for a European giant like AC Milan. If he thinks that, then he will have absolutely no problem with giving this scary-looking vampire the Villa job when Emery finally quits. Which is mad, because he was mediocre milk at Wolves and then an abject failure at West Ham. But hey, Monkey likes him. And when this happens, it will be the most stupid decision from a monkey since King Kong stole a woman. Bournemouth, Carlos Corberán. Look, some clubs sort of model their coaches on one of the godfathers of the sport. I mean, the Bournemouth chairman definitely has a photograph of Marcelo Bielsa on his office wall. I just know he does. Christ above. The Cherries held talks with this legendary coach after he got the Leeds United sack. I mean, clearly that meeting didn't go well because they plumped for Gary O'Neill instead. I can only imagine Bielsa must have talked himself out of the job by making really weird demands, like that the club must promise to pay him in poo, or that they should let him eat the lunch lady's nose. But whilst they couldn't get Bielsa, they got the next best thing, Andoni Iraola, who is Bielsa's captain at Athletic Bilbao. Leeds United had the same idea. They tried to replace Bielsa with Iraola. Look, Iraola is a more pragmatic coach than Bielsa. I mean, don't get me wrong, he still plays exciting, swashbuckling football too, but Bielsa, he was nuts. He was like 90s Kevin Keegan, someone who cared about his defending as much as I care about how many times Miley Cyrus sneezes in a week. No. There is another young Bielsa disciple swimming out there, a 41-year-old Carlos Corberán, who worked under him at Leeds. He did amazing work at Huddersfield. He nearly got them into the Prem. He did a strong job at West Brom too, and is now at a huge club like Valencia. But come on, Bournemouth is right now an upgrade on that car crash club. Come on, this is their current president. Someone dressed in a baggy hoodie. Does he look like a football president? No, he looks like someone who spends every night insulting 12-year-olds whilst playing Call of Duty in the dark. He is actually the son of the guy who hired Gary Neville for Valencia. And yeah, he looks young enough to have a Bulbasaur tattoo on his leg. Valencia are a mess. I mean, it's 10 years on from Neville, and they're still conceding 7 at the new camp. Nothing has changed. Corberán might feel like he's at a massive club on paper, sure, but in reality, it's a bit like being paid to wipe Al Pacino's bum. So I think once Iraola gets poached by a Real Madrid or a PSG or an Inter Milan, then yeah, Corberán does the anti-Max Aaron switch and trades Valencia for Bournemouth. It has to happen. Brighton, Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers is not done in Premier League management. No, he is not. Rodgers is a Champions League level boss. How did Leicester sack someone who got them to finish 5th twice, win an FA Cup, and come within a Jose Mourinho of a European final. Oh yeah, and he helped you win a Premier League game 9-0 on the road. Like, honestly, look at Leicester now. Just 2 years after sacking him. You're one of the worst teams in Premier League history, with arguably the worst coach the league has ever seen. Rodgers has promised not to walk out early on his 3-year Celtic deal. I mean, after the last time, I'm sure he wouldn't dare. But I think when he's a free agent in 2026, yes, Rodgers' style of football stinks of Brighton. Brentford, Kasper Humland. Brentford are a mini Denmark. So when Thomas Frank eventually leaves, of course they're gonna hire a free and single Kasper Humland, who nearly took Denmark to the final of Euro 2020. This is such a future Brentford boss. Chelsea, Roberto De Zerbi. Chelsea are a club who go through so many managers, whilst Roberto De Zerbi is a ridiculous journeyman. The man can't sit still for a minute. Look, Chelsea were massively sniffing around this guy when he was the Brighton boss, but that's hardly a shock. Todd Bowley was so obsessed with everything Brighton that I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to make out with a seagull behind closed doors. I mean, Chelsea stole both Caicedo and Cucurella. They even snagged Paul Jewell's son. I mean, Christ above, their owner literally has the same initials as Tony Bloom. So yes, I can absolutely see them replacing Maresca with De Zerbi. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they replaced one Italian with another. This would be like the modern day jump from Conte to Sarri, except both of those coaches make Enzo and Bobby looks like managerial beanie babies. Crystal Palace, Frank Lampard. I don't think Frank Lampard is done in Premier League management. People want to lump him into the same basket as Gerrard and Rooney, but I actually think that Lampard is a very astute coach. Come on, he essentially created a Champions League winning team. I think he did a very respectable job at Stamford Bridge, and he initially did okay at Everton. I mean, come on, he was coming into the job just 6 months after Carlo Ancelotti was there. Trying to replace him would be like me filling in for KSI when he's sick. I would be booed so loud you'd think there were vuvuzelas in the crowd. And he also replaced a very good manager like Sarri at Chelsea, and even now he's trying to fill the shoes of a Coventry legend like Mark Robbins. I mean, look, going back to Chelsea as interim boss to babysit a bunch of entitled brats who are mentally already eating ice cream on the beach, that is what is unfairly giving him the tag of being a clown manager. People love to hate this guy, but do you notice how quiet it's gotten now that he's won 10 of Coventry's last 12 games? He's good. Future Palace. Everton, Erik ten Hag. Everton are going to need a high-profile manager to go with their new spaceship ground. Don't forget, the current Everton ownership, the Freakin Group, whilst in charge of Roma, they were heavily sniffing out Erik ten Hag just 2 months ago. But I think after the exhausting scrutiny at Old Trafford, then yeah, poor old Eric is now happy to spend a year chilling with his £8 million payoff. Honestly, as we speak, this guy is probably at Disneyland paying for a free dance of Mickey Mouse. But eventually, once Moyes goes, I think they appoint ten Hag. Fulham, Bruno Lage. Look, Fulham absolutely love Marco Silva. I mean, they just stumbled upon their best manager for decades. What he's achieved with them so far has been marvellous. And when he finally dips out of Craven Cottage, I think they just panic and poach a similar Portuguese boss. Bruno Lage ticks that box. Practically the same age as Silva. He's currently doing well as Benfica boss again. They're closing in on a Premier League title. And he's made Wolves look very silly for kicking him out like a broken garden gnome. Yeah, I can see Fulham being heartbroken when Silva quits, and yeah, they will just replace him with a carbon copy coach. Ipswich Town, Dean Smith. Oh, this is gonna be rough. When Ipswich Town's complete golden nugget of a manager, Kieran McKenna, finally departs, who are they gonna get to replace him? This has been a good Burnley lost their most exciting manager of all time. Vincent Kompany to Bayern Munich, and so replaced him with Scott Parker. Sorry, but going from a Bayern Munich bound manager to some Club Bruges reject, someone who looks like he combs his hair 14 times a day, it's pretty underwhelming because Kompany plays a beautiful, fast-paced, electric style of footy. Parker has already carved out 12 0-0 draws. He's been manager 5 minutes and has already overseen 25 goalless draws. Sorry, what? And that's the sort of manager we're letting back into the Premier League? He's barely out of his 30s and is already halfway to 50 0-0s as a manager, while his predecessor as his team in the hunt to win the Champions League. Boring! So yes, similarly, once Kieran McKenna leaves, it'll be someone really overwhelmingly average like Dean Smith back from the MLS. Back into the Championship. Yeah, this friendly looking granddad, someone you'd expect to see looking lost and confused on the bus, he's going to be your modern day Paul Lambert. Leicester City, Mira Muslic. Roof and Nistelrooy surely has to go this summer. Surely this club just choosing to hang on to him into the Championship. Now, it would be a bit like choosing to keep your dead granny's head in your fridge. Just let him go. He's never going to succeed at your club. I think that Championship's next hotshot manager is going to be Mira Muslic, the 32-year-old Bosnian coach who came into Plymouth to clear up Rooney's mess, instantly knocked Liverpool out of the FA Cup, and if he manages to miraculously keep them up, I reckon he'll be the next Valerian Ismail, who did brilliant work at a doomed Barnsley and then gets massive jobs off the back of that. An absolute nobody before Barnsley, but after West Brom, Besiktas, Watford, Blackburn Rovers. Yeah, Muslic is the next breakout coach, and I reckon he gets a Leicester job in the summer. Liverpool, Thomas Frank. I don't think Arne Slot is ever getting sacked. He'll probably voluntarily walk to try and win Netherlands the World Cup in 5 years' time. So yeah, in steps a mid-50s Thomas Frank. But honestly, it's so hard trying to predict this one. It's like if somebody in 2019 had tried to predict who's going to eventually replace Klopp. Nobody. I repeat, nobody in the world would have ever mentioned Slot, not the plump egg who was AZ Alkmaar boss. You can't predict Liverpool managers 5 years in advance. I mean, Roy Hodgson took the job in 2010. Yeah, in 2005, he was Viking manager. Viking! 5 years before Brendan Rodgers took the job, he was a Chelsea coach making the tea. So this is impossible to predict, but yeah, if I had to guess, maybe a Premier League proven safety option like Frank as interim for a year? Man City, Cesc Fabregas. I said this for ages. I think Cesc Fabregas is the future Manchester City boss. He ticks all the boxes. He's flooded with Barcelona DNA. He's already worked under Pep. He's a legendary footballer. And as a club, Man City have basically tried to steal legends from their rivals at the end of their careers. I mean, it never felt right that they sort of tricked Frank Lampard into the Man City family after initially begging him to join their American sister club. And it always felt odd that two former Arsenal Cup-winning captains like Patrick Vieira and Mikel Arteta both began their coaching journeys at Man City, not Arsenal. I think Fabregas is going to be the third former Gunners captain to get a coaching job at the Etihad. But unlike the other two, this one will be in the big seat. Man United, Kieran McKenna. I don't know. I was confused at this one. The way football is going, clubs are making weirder and weirder choices when hiring new managers. I mean, we just saw Vincent Kompany fail at Burnley and get the Bayern Munich job. Manchester United clearly like Kieran McKenna. They were sniffing around him after Ipswich promotion. He's got admirers at the club having worked there as an assistant. I think Amram will be there for a while, like 4 years. By then, McKenna will have left Ipswich, but will have probably done good work elsewhere. And yeah, by 2028, he'll be in his early 40s and be seen as a top talent, like what Eddie Howe was in 2020. And yeah, why not? He'll be a rogue pick at Old Trafford. I mean, come on, Company got the Bayern job. Why not? Newcastle, Dan Burn. Eddie Howe has a job for life. I'm sorry, but you just try and sack a bloke who's just won Newcastle a trophy. The guy arguably deserves a statue outside the stadium. The owners wouldn't dare dump Howe anytime soon. He's a legitimate local hero. Howe has this Newcastle job as long as he wants it. So forget about the hierarchy looking to upgrade for a proven winner like Conte or Pioli. No, I think Howe is here for another 8 years before passing the reins to Big Dan Burn. Yeah, it's mental. When the takeover went through and the club were linked with actual Zidane, imagine being told that the second manager after Steve Bruce would be that 9-fingered Brighton centre back. It's nuts. The first thing I ever said about Burn on the internet was this.
Brighton, Dan Burn. I know Brighton have had their problems in defence lately, but Christ above, Dan Burn is not the answer. The man made 14 appearances for Wigan last season and was not very good. I will be surprised if Graham Potter turns to the 27-year-old centre half this season, considering he is essentially a walking accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, I was speaking about him as if he was an irrelevant cheese sandwich left behind the Brighton couch. To now say that he deserves a statue and will one day manage Newcastle United. This is the biggest turnaround of opinion in my YouTube life. What next? Am I going to tip Paul McShane to marry my mum? No. Nottingham Forest, Jose Mourinho. People like to say that I'm a Forest hater. No, this is wholly untrue. But I'm going to say this. This idea just plumped into my head. But the more I think about it, the more Jose Mourinho to Nottingham Forest makes sense. I mean, that Forest are likely to qualify for Europa League, right? And they're currently managed by someone who is mentored by Jose, sneakily soaking up his tactical brilliance and knowledge, whilst Nuno Santo was his bench-warming Champions League winning goalie at Porto. Mourinho to Forest might seem ridiculous. I mean, Christ, it was only a few years ago. This club had Roy Keane on the coaching staff. Jose wouldn't actually be the first Forest manager who's won 2 Champions Leagues. Mourinho is the modern Brian Clough. Come on, their charisma, their charm, their ego, their brilliance. One was literally called Big Ed. The other, the special one. Come on, they're not exactly modest geeks. I think if Forest have a Leicester 2017 season next year, meaning they're flailing in the bottom half of the league, but are still in Europe after Christmas, I can absolutely see Mourinho the Master taking his apprentice's job in February. And if that happens, forget about me being a Forest hater. Oh no, I'd probably get a tattoo of a tree on my face. Southampton, Danny Rose. Southampton need a complete reset. They're surely going to target a young and hungry forward-thinking coach. Danny Rose is the obvious choice. He's only 35, has done brilliantly in his only job at Sheffield Wednesday, and oh yeah, has coached at Southampton before. He was literally Ralph Hasenhüttl's assistant coach. He helped him clean up the Mark Hughes mess to keep them up in 2018. And yeah, 2 months after Roll decided to quit them for Bayern Munich, the Saints lost 9-0 at home, whilst Bayern won the treble in Roll's debut season. Now I know he was just the assistant coach, but I like to think he was doing more than just fetching Hansi Flick his milk and cookies. He's clearly something special, so yeah, obvious choice. Tottenham, Marco Silva. Tottenham's next manager will be Marco Silva. A good manager, sure. But, I mean, he was sacked by both Watford and Everton. This is going to feel a bit like when Spurs got Nuno Santo. A good manager, yes, but it's not exactly exciting, is it? West Ham, Sergio Conceição. Look, the West Ham owners love going Hollywood. Does anyone really think Graham Potter is a big enough personality for them? No, it's why they dumped Moyes for two ex-Real Madrid managers, Pellegrini and Lopetegui. I don't see Potter lasting long, and so yeah, they'll swoop in for a big European name on the continent. Why not current AC Milan boss Sergio Conceição? Wolves, Paulo Fonseca. Paulo Fonseca has to manage in the Premier League. He just has to. He's been linked with this league for yonks. Arsenal, Newcastle, Tottenham, Manchester United, Everton, West Ham, Wolves, Aston Villa, you name it. Despite the 52-year-old never having lived in England even once, he has always had Premier League links. He's a journeyman coach, and he's now Leon boss, and has just been given a 9-month touchline ban for squaring up to the ref. Fonseca had only been on the job for a month. 1 month, and he gets banned for the length of a pregnancy? What a complete mess. But look, despite having obvious anger issues, and despite clearly having the self-control of Jonah Hill at the barbecue, he has got Premier League admirers. And, well, he's Portuguese, having been born in Mozambique. So does that make him African too? He would be the first African-born Premier League boss since Patrick Vieira. Come on, he just screams in referees' faces, but also he screams of Wolves. If this man never winds up managing in the Premier League, then I will drink a puddle of mud. By the way, I know what you're all saying.
Where's your mud bath?
Tomorrow, okay? I promise tomorrow. I try to find mud outside, but it's too sunny. It's way too sunny, but apparently there's going to be some rain overnight. So yes, absolutely mud bath tomorrow. In the next video, mud bath. I promise. Okay, I'm not mud bath. It will. I'm looking forward to it, actually. I'm not. I'm really not. Why did Rangers win that? Anyway, that's the video. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Who's your next manager going to be? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and support as always. I'll talk shit a wheel. And yes, Newcastle have won a cup. I can't believe it. I'm going to be like this all week. I cannot, but I literally cannot believe it. But yeah, no one's still watching anymore, but yeah!